And I call the member for Bruce.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. I mean, the opposition get to pick any topic they like for private members' motions. They can literally bring a debate on anything. Cost of living they could have chosen, energy, aged care. But they're supposed to try and pick things that put political pressure on the government. But they choose today to bring a debate on the cashless debit card. Well, bring it on. Let's talk about the Liberals' policy to roll out privatised income management nationwide. I mean, you've got to wonder, is there a mole in the Opposition's Tactics Committee that they think this is a good debate that's somehow going to win them votes to bring it on? Deputy Speaker, they were no good as a government and they're no good as an opposition. This is a terrific topic to debate. You've voluntarily brought a debate where we get to talk about your ongoing efforts. It's in the motion. You've now nailed your colours to the mast. You've finally fessed up. They wouldn't talk about it before the election. They kept it a secret. But there it is in the motion. If elected, if re-elected, they want to bring back privatised welfare. They want to bring back forced income management. They want a national rollout of the cashless debit card. Well, Nikki Savva revealed it in her book. There were 3 policies under the Morrison government that were approved by them before the election through their Expenditure Review Committee that they kept secret. One of them was the national rollout of the cashless debit card. They know what the broader Australian community would think about this, so they didn't want to tell people before the election. And they get very sensitive when you call out the fact that it would have included, quote the former Prime Minister's words, all social security recipients. That includes all pensioners and aged pensioners. And they say that's not true. Well, why would they have introduced legislation into the House to force aged pensioners onto the card if that's not exactly what they wanted to do? Leftover ideologues still banging on about a failed policy. Now, the motion could be framed and hung on a wall in glass with a plaque under it saying disinformation, though, because they talk about the Coalition's plan to reinstate the successful cashless debit card. Well, instead, they should admit that there was no evidence to back up the claims to support the dodgy privatised scheme. In 2022, in June, the Australian National Audit Office released their second audit report, and I quote, "The cashless debit card program extension and expansion was not informed by an effective second impact evaluation, cost-benefit analysis or post-implementation review." They promised for years in the Senate that they would do the review, that they'd find some evidence, but they never did, and the Auditor-General rightly called them out for it. They should also stop selectively quoting from the 2021 University of Adelaide study. In fact, that study found that any reduction in drug and alcohol could not be attributed to the cashless debit card. They never quote that bit of the study, the actual conclusion, do they, Deputy Speaker? They could try quoting from the University of South Australia and Monash University study, which showed that the card had, I quote, "no substantial impact on crisis or emergency department presentations." They don't like quoting the actual results of studies. The other part of the motion, which is just fundamentally disinformation, and we heard it from the previous 2 speakers, is the government's decision to spend $217 million on the smart card. Well, we make no apology for abolishing the cashless debit card. We're doing exactly what was promised. Some people, of course, have volunteered to be on the smart card with upgraded technology, and it's made a positive difference to people's lives. They can shop at the market again, getting cheaper fresh food with cash. They can buy second-hand goods. They can go to restaurants again. They can give cash to their grandkids. But what is this $217 million they talk about? Well, $158 million of it, 70%, they don't want to listen, they just want to yell, Deputy Speaker, 70% of this so-called expenditure is to support services for people in the former cashless debit card communities. It's not, as they try and say, for some great big procurement and great big card. It's money going into communities, in the communities of Cape York and the Goldfields and East Kimberley and Ceduna. So really they have a choice, Deputy Speaker. They need to put up or shut up. Either they support the investment into those communities, or they go out to those communities and tell them that they don't support the investment and stop running this disinformation campaign. Deputy Speaker, they should apologise to thousands of Australians who were forced on this card in the first place. They should promise to stop supporting privatised welfare and never again force pensioners onto income management. And they should admit that they're running a tawdry little debate, conflating issues of race and stigma about drug and alcohol and the old bogeyman of people on welfare with privatised welfare, which is their real objective. All of us want to see reductions in harm in all communities, but this is not the way to go about it.
The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the member for Cowper.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. We'll talk about misinformation and disinformation. It was never proposed that pensioners would go on the cashless debit card scheme.